In this detailed video tutorial, I'm going to show you how you can generate this automation, which I sell to real estate agencies for over $2,000. What this does is generate all of the marketing copy and collateral needed for a large real estate development project. And all you need to do is submit one simple Google form with the basic information about the project, and then we generate all the copy necessary, including the website copy, the Facebook ads copy, the LinkedIn copy, and even the email copy. I've sold this a couple of times for over $2,000, and I want to give it to you for free so you know how to make it and make it your own. This is the type of automations that come as a request within our AI ranking school community, where we teach you how you can maximize artificial intelligence in your automations and for search engine optimization. And that's one of the big components of this automation, that at the end you get all the website copy that's SEO optimized, and everything, all the copy is neatly stored in a Google Sheet, which then the head of marketing or whoever needs to review the copy can do so nice and easily. If you don't know me, my name is Nico. I'm an AI SEO expert, and I run an online community where I teach people how to do all these things, specifically automations and search engine optimization. Let's get started right away. Firstly, everything that I talk about, any apps, any websites that I use, will be listed in the video description below. You're going to need a couple of things, and yes, some of these are paid, but you're creating a very high quality automation here, so some of these tools need to be paid. Firstly is Make. This is the automation software that we use that allows us to put this whole thing together. Secondly is Postman. This is completely free. This just allows us to test continuously our automation as we go through without needing to submit the form over and over again. Secondly, you need Perplexity, and you need access to an API key within Perplexity. I've done a video on how you can access this API key. I'll leave it linked in the description below. And finally, of course, you need an API key from OpenAI, which allows you to really mend this whole thing together. We'll get started right away. The first thing you need to do is create a Google form, which you're going to give to the client for them to submit the information about the project. This can change, and I encourage you to change it and to make it your own, and so it meets the requirements of the real estate agent. For example, here we have the project name, the project type, location, the entry price, the number of units, the expected completion date, any amenities, and anything else that you might need. If we click on next, then we're asking for the information of the agent responsible for all this so we can contact them later on. I encourage you to build this whole thing yourself, but I'll leave a link to this form example in the details below so you can use it as a template. First thing we're going to do is we're going to make, and we're going to generate a new scenario. The first scenario that we're going to do is actually a webhook scenario, because we're going to use the submission of a Google form as the trigger to start this whole scenario. We're going to click on Webhook, and we're going to go to Custom Webhook here. You're going to add a brand new hook here. We're going to name it Real Estate Form, or whatever you want to. The IP restrictions you leave completely empty. You're going to click on Save. And the first thing you need now is copy this URL here, and you need to go to the form in which you are building this whole thing out of, where you're going to use the trigger. I have a little extension that you need, which is called Make for Google Forms. I'll leave a link to where you can download this extension. Once you click on that, it's going to allow you to configure a webhook. If you click on that, this pop-up will come up here on the bottom right. You're going to enable the webhook, and in the Make Webhook endpoint, we're going to paste the URL that we just generated in Make. We're going to click Save, and now that the setting's saved, we're just going to minimize this whole thing here. Within the webhook, that's still waiting for a response, so let's test it out first, just so we make sure that submitting the form is going to actually trigger our automation. Project name we'll test as Valley of the Moon. The project type we'll leave as residential. Location we'll place in Vitacura, Santiago, which is a suburb in Santiago in Chile. The entry price, let's say $1 million. Number of units we'll leave as 30. The expected completion date of the project for this instance, which is going to use the example of, let's say, the end of October. The amenities, we're going to choose a couple here. We're going to click Next. And you see that I've built here now with the agent info. I'm just going to put my name here and the agent phone number. I've misspelled that there, but that's okay. We'll just leave as an example here. So before we submit this, we want to go back to the original webhook here, and you can see that it's still listening for data to come in. We're going to go back to our submission form and submit it here. While it's submitting, go back to make, and hopefully if we've done everything correctly, you see this message here, successfully determined, which means we have the data coming in through correctly. We're gonna copy it once. Now, that was just a test one. Unfortunately, we need to submit the whole data again, but that's the last time you're going to do that. I'm gonna do that quickly now. Now, before I submit it again, I'm just going to go to our Webhook integration. I'm going to force run it once, and it's going to wait for the information to come in, which I want it to do, and submit it. I'm going to go back to make, and hopefully this will read the data, and perfect. Now I've got the data. Now I don't have to submit that form again because I've got the test variable, and using Postman, which I'll show you how to do, next time you want to run this test, you just do it through Postman, so you don't have to go through the through the annoying thing of submitting the form again. The operation here, we're going to click on this button here. I'm going to download the output bundles. This is just how the information comes in from the Google form. I'm going to open up a brand new Google Doc and just leave that JSON file, which is the information there. Here, we're going to reference it again, but fortunately we don't need to use the Google form again. Perfect. Now, there's a couple of things that we want to do now. And what really takes this automation to the next level is doing a bit of research about the property market within the location where it's being built. To do that, we're going to use Perplexity. And Perplexity AI has a create a chat completion. We're going to keep it as it is, the Llama Sona 1 model. Add the items, the content is what we're going to put our prompt. I've already pre-made a prompt here. And this is just telling the Perplexity to act like a real estate market research expert analysis and do some research on the property, on the location that we want it to. And when you do the final thing, which is the location to do research, we're going to reference one of the answers from the Google form submissions. So if we click here, this is going to open up. We're going to go to the payload, and everything should be named appropriately with the form submissions as it was. So we're going to do the location here. The role we're going to leave as the user, that's fine. The max tokens and everything we're going to leave empty, and everything else we'll leave as it is. We're going to save this. And now I'm going to show you how you can test this with Postman without having to submit the form again. So you're going to go to Postman. I'll leave a link to this below, and you're going to go to send an API request, new request. You need to make an account in Postman, but it's completely free, so don't worry about that. Once we go here, we're going to go to the body. You're going to leave this as raw, and it should be selected as JSON here. Within the JSON file, you're going to copy this once, paste it here, and in the section here for get, you're going to change that to post, and the URL is a little bit tricky. You're going to go to your original webhook, copy the clipboard access, and paste it here. Now, because that's set up, once we run this whole thing, it'll wait for the data to come in. We're going to send it, and if we go back to make and give it a while, you see that that information is being sent. And Perplexity, it's doing its thing, it's doing its research. Now, if we click on the number 1 here, it tells us the output that Perplexity generated. If we go back, if we go to the output bundle and go usage and, the choices, 1, and the message, it is a little hidden. The content, it's going to give us It's going to give us all the information that we can then feed on to other GPTs, which we can see here. That's what we want. Great. Now we've got 2 bits of information which we really need. One is the project information and one is the research of the local area. Now we can start building the first content automation flow, which will be the website copy. But we need to segment this in a couple of ways. You can get GPT to do the whole thing in the one go, but I find that's not the best way to do it. So the first thing we're going to use is a OpenAI module. If you can't find the OpenAI module for some reason, you can just search for OpenAI. Don't search for ChatGPT, you might not find it. We're going to open here and we're going to create a chat completion. The model, we're going to go as GPT-4o Mini. This is cheap and it's quite smart enough to do what we need it to do. The role we're going to use as the user, and the message content is where we're going to place in our information plus our prompt. I've got all the prompts pre-made here, and if we look at it, we're going to make 3 sections for the website copy: a highlight section, an overall project section, and then a conclusion section, all the same format, but this way it's just organized a lot better. So I'm going to copy my first prompt that will generate the highlight section of the website page, for this project. Go back to make, ChatGPT, user, role, content. The project information we need to place in within our prompt. So we're going to, for example, go project name, and then within the project name we want to select the answer that we get from the Google Forms, project type. Again, we want to do that, the location, entry price in USD. Essentially, I'm replicating all the information that I'm getting from Google, the Google Form submission, into that prompt. Good thing is I can copy this prompt later on, so I don't have to do this whole thing again. Number of units, expected completion date, amenities, agent name, agent email, and then agent number. Okay, that's one part of the information that we need to give it, and then we need to give it the information about the location. If I go property market information, I can just place all of the output from the message of Perplexity there. Okay. I'm just going to check everything. I've got the model, the user, the role, the max tokens. I leave it as 1,000. You're probably not going to need that many, but I like to give it some room to play with. And going to go to OK. So this I also want to name because I need to reference it later on. And if I don't name this, it'll get quite confusing. So I'm going to rename it to website copy part 1. And I can reference it in the I can reference it later on. I'm going to save this, and with that saved, I'm going to run this again. I'm going to back to my Postman and send. I've done everything, so I don't need to format it again. And hopefully now I'll get this again. The only thing is that you're going to be using Perplexity quite a few times, so you need a few tokens within that, but it's not too expensive for a search. This search is costing me maybe $0.01, not quite. Now let's look at the output from my GPT. I'm going to go to choices, 1, and then the messages, content. Perfect. And now I see the output that it's supposed to be as simple HTML. So then I can just put it on at a website, nice and easy. Cool. Now, instead of redoing this whole thing, I'm going to clone this module here. I'm going to rename it before I do anything else. Part 2, okay. And I need to change part of the prompt a little bit, which I've got here, and this is going to be about the area. The prompt is a little bit different. And all I'm going to do is change this section here. You don't want to delete all the project information and the data, which we are referencing as well. We just want to change the first part of the prompt and go okay. Cool. I'm going to save this again, and we're going to continue with the rest of this flow. We're going to clone it again, rename it, 3. And then again, we're going to change it. I've pre-made the prompt for the final section, which is the conclusion. The conclusion should also include a call to action, which I've made in that prompt. I'm going to do the same thing, just delete the prompt section, but the information which we are calling, I'll leave the same. Perfect. I'm going to go to OK. Okay, now I've got the 3 parts of my copy. What do I want? I've got the 3 parts of my website copy. I'm going to save that. I'm going to just auto align it. And now the last thing, well, this thing that I want to do is collect everything in a Google Doc. I'm going to go to Docs, create a document. I'm going to name it the project name so that I don't have to manually do this all the time. Project name, value of the moon. And then I can put the agent name as well, or whatever you want there. The content, this is really important. You're going to do a little bit of coding. Don't get too scared. You're going to do H1. Section 1. And then we're going to close the H1 tags. And here we're going to place the output data from part 1 of the website copy. We're going to put here, right? You're going to press space a couple of times, and we're going to copy this code here. Oh, make sure that's got a closing bracket there. That wouldn't have worked. Now I'm going to do section 2, enter, and place my website copy part 2. Again, we're going to just click the result. And then I'm going to go to section 3 of the website copy, and then click the last module within this flow of the GPTs, click result. Perfect. And now I'm going to click OK. I need to choose where this project is going to go. Depending on your file management, that's really up to you. I'm just going to select a location here. And this is going to go now into my folder called the real estate content generating flow. Going to go to OK. Again, rename this module. So this really should be website copy. And the website copy is probably going to be quite a lot, but I'd rather give the client a lot of copy and then they can delete it. And this is the thing where you start creating this very much meeting the needs of the client. You can go back and forth and asking them, well, what do they like about the copy and what they didn't? And then you can change the prompt to meet their requirements. So we've got the first section of the prompt. We've got the first section of the automation. Well done. Now we need to create the other content. We're going to go in between the Perplexity module and the first ChatGPT module that creates the website copy. We're going to right click here and we're going to add a router. Click this now. We're going to tidy this up. And this GPT will create the email copy. Again, we're going to open up an OpenAI module. We're going to create a chat completion model. We're going to use 4.0 mini, the message, the user, the role, the user, the message. I've got a prompt already made specifically for this, which is my email copy prompt, where I give it a persona and I tell it all the things that it needs to do and how it should structure the output, including the output of the email. If you don't want it to be in HTML, you need to change that within your prompt. But for me, it makes things easier, just the output to be in HTML. I'm going to go back to my make here and paste the prompt. Project information to write the email. And instead of selecting everything, I know that I've got all the info that I can just copy and paste here. So I'm going to cheat and go back to here, copy that, leave that as it is, go back to my email generating prompt, and right at the end, I'm just going to paste all that data there so I don't have to go through it again. The max tokens we'll leave as 1000 and go OK. This, we're going to go and rename it as email copy generator. we are going to place all of this in a Google Doc again, create a document. You can do, what you can do as well is you can actually copy this module, and we're going to clone it and drag this down. It's going to automatically link to this one. I like to copy it because then all of the drives and the location of the document I don't have to worry about, but the content itself, I need to reference the email copy generator. Now, if I hover over this, you can see that this one is pulsing, meaning I'm referencing the right one. I'm just going to copy the result here. I'm going to name this slightly differently, email copy, so I know which one I'm referencing, and I'm going to leave that as okay. Perfect. I'm going to press the plus button on the router again, tidy this up, and now it's time for the Facebook copy. I'm going to create a completion again. Actually, let's copy, could do quick good practice. We're going to clone this, put this here, and we're just going to delete the first section of the prompt because I want to work quick. And on the top here for the actual prompt in terms of what it needs to do, I've got this already generated. I've got my Facebook creation prompt where I give it a persona, I give it some background, and I define the output. I'm going to go to make again, put this in here, so that's all good to go. Click OK. Copy another module, so I don't have to select the entire documentation where it needs to be again. This is going to be the Facebook copy. The result I'm going to get from the previous module, which is my email copy generator. Oh, no, which is, I haven't named that correctly. And this is what I mean. This is a perfect example of why you need to rename your modules all the time. We're going to rename this to Facebook copy generator. Go back to this one here, and I'm going to go results. Whilst the name hasn't been updated, that still says email copy. That's all right. I still know that I'm referencing the right one. You see a little 12 here. That's the number module, and this one is 12. So I still know that I'm referencing the right one. Okay, I'm nearly there. The last one is the LinkedIn copy because real estate agencies love to share their projects on LinkedIn. I'm going to, again, make a copy of this one. Here, let's just tidy this up a little bit more. I'm going to rename this. And I'm going to delete the first part of the prompt, but leave the information which we're referencing as it is. And then I've got a prompt which I've already created for my LinkedIn copy. Here it is, perfect. Go back to make, paste my prompt in there. That's going to create my LinkedIn post. And I've got the right copy. Again, I'm going to clone this. Rename, clone this, rename it again to LinkedIn copy. While I'm at it, I didn't rename this one. Facebook copy, and while I'm at it, I'm going to rename the other one. Very good practice to get into, just to name your modules. Otherwise, when you're creating things that are this big, you're going to get yourself in a lot of trouble if you don't do it correctly. I'm going to put the result from my LinkedIn generator. I'm going to name this appropriately. You can see here that I probably should have gone through this earlier, but the name here is the name of the Google Doc which we're generating, and the content is obviously the content that's generated by the LinkedIn GPT generator. I'm going to save this, align it, and now we aren't quite done because really you need to be able to demonstrate or provide this data in a neat way in which the head copywriter or the head marketer can read this easily. So we want to send all of this, the Google Doc links accessible, we want to send to this Google Sheet, the automation, this Google Sheet, which you can make a copy of as well. And how do we call this Google Sheet, or how do we place that data in there? Well, that's what we're going to do now. We're going to go back to our automation. And now we're going to click plus here and go to Sheets. Show more. And we need to add a row. This appends a row to the bottom of a table. That's what we want here. And here you simply need to find your Google Sheet wherever it's stored within your Google Drive. So after a little digging and remembering, I've got here my Google Sheet, the automation example, real estate. And if I look at the name of the Google Sheet that I want to place the data in, it's the same name. Bob's your uncle, I'm set to go. Now, this is important. The sheet name is one. I've only got one here. The table does contain headers, because if we look at our table, I've got the headers here, which I'll need to reference in a second. So now I can really start putting all of this information of this row into the Google Sheet. So the project name, I want to actually go back to the submission data from the Google form and go project name. The completion date, I think it's important for you to place it in there, but that really depends on your client. The agent name, I'll put in here. The agent email, I've got the agent email. Now, the website copy, I need to reference the Google Doc here, and I need to go to web view link, and that is done. Perfect. So I've got the first one done here. Now I can do the same thing, and I can clone this module. I can drag this one down here. I need to open this up and format it appropriately. So the project name, the completion date, that's going to be fine. But the email copy is the one that I want to get from this one. So the email copy, I go back to my email copy module. So just quickly, within this row here, I can only, so this Google Sheet can only reference the previous modules. I can't reference, for example, this module here when I'm selecting this sheet. Kind of makes sense the way the flow is linked up together. I just want to make sure that's plainly obvious. I'm going to delete the website copy here because I don't have access to that within this flow. In the email copy column, I'm going to select my web view link and press OK. I can now clone this again. Going to delete this email copy, the Facebook ads copy column. I'm going to put the web view link. Once again, I'm going to clone this. And lastly, I'm going to do this with the LinkedIn copy, which is the previous module for that row. I'm going to save this, align it, and save it again. And this really is kind of the completion of everything. What you could do is in the last module here, because this automation is going to run this first, this second, third, and fourth. In the last module, you could add an email to be sent when this is completed, but that's really up to you. For now, we're just going to leave this as it is because it's already quite complicated. So let's see if this worked out. I'm going to save this again. I'm going to run it once. I'm going to go back to my Postman and send the information through. And we're going to see, hopefully, if we've done everything correctly, we don't have any errors, but we're bound to, and hopefully we do. That way I can show you how to troubleshoot the errors. Perfect, so you can see that at least my website copy has been done correctly and it's been placed into the Google Doc, and that's been placed into the Google Sheet, and it looks like the email copy generator is doing its thing as well. This is why I find it's good to put an email at the end of the flow so that the client isn't waiting aimlessly whilst the content is being generated. They can just submit the form and then not look at the Google Sheet until all this is generated. And with that being said, if we go to the Google Sheet, we should see some data already being filled out, which is perfect. I really like this. We're going to be able to see this in a second. Perfect. So everything worked the first time correctly, which I'm kind of surprised about, to be honest, but great. Usually there is some error that I've done. I don't have enough API credits or whatever the deal might be. You do need to format it a little bit just so that everything kind of looks nice and tidy. But let's have a look at our contents that's being generated. And if we click on the document here, hopefully that'll open up. And I've got section 1, that's in H1. I've got the examples here, the expert guidance, the section 2, and even the section 3. Beautiful. Let's go back. Let's go to the email copy. Hopefully that's been done correctly. I've got the subject line, the introduction. Nice. Here I've said within the prompts, I told it to tell the user to insert image of happy family, for example, the community here. Perfect. And then let's finally check the Facebook ads copy. I've got a couple of headlines here and a couple of the call outs, sub headlines, and I've got 3 variations. Fantastic. And I've got the LinkedIn copy here. When I originally first made this, because it's adding a row every single time that it comes along, you'll see that each of these documents are going down 1 row as it's created, which isn't the worst issue. To fix that, you can place all of the automation in a single row, which is easy enough. You're just going to have a massive row here. It's all about how you want to generate this flow. So that's it. Within about half an hour, or I don't know how long this video is now, we've created a really useful automation that's powered by SEO. We've done some research to add analysis about the investment opportunities for that area. We've given that all to ChatGPT and sent it across. Obviously, the main intellectual property here is the really high quality prompts. Those will be available inside the community. If you want to check that out, I'll leave a link to the resources below. But all the tools that I've used will be linked below. And if you have any questions, or if you want me to show you how to build other automations like this, let me know in the comments below and I'm more than happy to make it. If you really found value in this tutorial, just give me a subscribe and a like. I appreciate that a lot. Cheers. Have a good day.